So last week I reviewed Karate Kid Part 1. Side note, I am recording this video sick, so if I seem a little bit off, just keep that in mind. But anyways, last week I reviewed Karate Kid, the original, and I'm going to review all the Karate Kid movies and lead up to the last part of the final season of Cobra Kai. Also because I'm excited about that new movie. And yeah, I had never seen the Karate Kid sequels. I had seen the remake back in theaters when it came out. Haven't seen it since. Don't even know what I think of it. I've seen the original, of course, a few times. But I had never seen Karate Kid 2, 3, or the next Karate Kid. So, and watching Karate Kid 2, this was an interesting experience for me because this was a first time watch. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed this movie. I wasn't really sure what I was going to think about it because making a Karate Kid sequel is like when you watch that original Rocky movie, you're like, they made a sequel to Rocky, at least back in the day. Now it's like, okay, yeah, obviously. But it seems always a little bit like that's kind of difficult. But I think they took a really great direction with this movie, which is that while the first movie is really focused on Daniel, this movie is really focused on Miyagi. They go to Okinawa, and Daniel learns a lot more about Miyagi and his past, and kind of explores a lot of that within this movie, and I really like a lot of that stuff. There's a really great moment where Daniel's talking about the loss of his father, and I guess spoilers for this movie, but it's like what, like a 40-year-old movie. But he's telling Mr. Miyagi this after losing his father. Now he didn't feel like a good son, and but in the end he realized the best thing could have been done as a son was to be there for his father, and in a way he's also being there for his father and Mr. Miyagi. And I think that's where this movie gets really forgotten. Is this movie is not as universal as the first Karate Kid. It doesn't have that 80s music, that 80s feel to it. I mean, well, I guess it does, but like that music is part of the first Karate Kid's identity. That high school stuff like that. This is more of seeing another culture and all that stuff. And so I think that's part of the reason why this one gets forgotten. And I don't think this has universal themes. Like the original, like of a father needing a son needing a father. Pretty simple stuff. But, like, the other thing, too, I think that hurts this movie, is I think the story isn't great. It kind of goes all over the place with some of the stuff. Like, there's a tournament at the end, but it doesn't... Well, there's a fight at the end, but it kind of happens, I guess, and all this stuff. So a lot of stuff that just kind of happens, and you're like, okay, there's a lot of repeating elements from the first movie a little bit. This girl, I think all that works fine enough, but it does mean that this movie just kind of, my only investment is because I watched that first movie. I love Mr. Miyagi. I love Daniel. I love their relationship, and those emotional moments really carry this movie. So that's where I think, like, towards the third act, this movie starts to lose me a little bit and lose me in some of those scenes. Because, first half, I'm really invested in their relationship. Second half, I'm still invested, seeing a little bit more of this culture, but then as the movie goes on, it starts to become a little more meandering and just kind of lose me a little bit. But yeah, I still think this is a pretty good follow-up to the first movie. No, it's not as good, but if you really love that first movie, there's no real reason not to check this one out. It's a pretty good follow-up that advances the characters, puts us in a new location, does some cool stuff. From what I understand, Karate Kid 3 is kind of the weaker one in this trilogy. Excuse me. But we'll talk about that next week. Let me know your thoughts, like, share, and subscribe.